Hi everyone, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, so everyone is having a skill, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Now, after installing a skill on your machine and learning about the basic components and terms associated with SQL, you will next learn more about the entire set of commands that are available in SQL. So, let us watch, let us understand the entire set of commands. So, what do we have is we have two set of commands. One is known as DDL, which is data definition language. Another is known as DML, which is data manipulation language. So this is data definition language. This is data manipulation language. Right. In data definition language, we have create, we have alter, and we have drop. In DML, we have this create, alter, drop is used along with select. Right. This create, alter, drop is used along with your select statement. And just a minute. Give me a minute. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So unlike your other programming language environments where you write the program, you have to compile it, then you have to run it, and so on. SQL is very simple as compared to other programming languages. So that why it is referred to as a declarative language, which means you just declare make some statements here and there, and then things happen. At the very basic level, the SQL has got two components of the language. One is called as data definition, Another part is referred to as data manipulation language, which is abbreviated as DML and DDL. Data design in the relational database, uh, you have to use the vocabulary of the relational data model that also we draw in the relational data model. What do we have? We have tables, we have columns, and then we have constraints, right? In the DDL is a language to specify what my tables are and what the columns in my tables are and what are my constraints are. That's why it is called as data definition language, right? So there are only four keywords or four commands that you have to learn. One is create command, then alter, then drop. This constitutes the core DDL commands for manipulating your schema itself, right? So you want to create a new table, you have to use the create. You want to modify an existing table, you have to use alter. You want to remove an existing table, you have to do drop. So there is a fourth command and which can be used both across DDL and DML, which is select command. So I'll kind of talk about that completely later, but but at the core, DDL has got three commands, which is called as create, alter, and uh, drop the table. So what is it that I can create? You can create anything in the schema. What do we mean by anything in the schema? I can create tables, I can create views, I can create constraints, and of course, when you say tables, along with that, the columns as well. Similarly, I can alter, modify existing tables, existing views, existing constraints. Similarly, I can drop tables, I can uh, drop columns, I can drop constraints. Using all these three commands together is all it takes my database structure. Now you have done all the hard work and created your database in the structure. Now comes the time to work with the actual data itself, right? So for the set of commands which work with data is referred to as DML. So DML is a set of commands which works which work with the data.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
It is first class.
Hmm?
Is it first class?
Uh, no, this is not first class. This is third day for SQL. Third day.
Okay.
See, third or fourth day is there. Fourth day is there. Yeah. So you have joined. Today is your first day.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anyway, we have not discussed anything. You can consider this as your first session in which we have started with the SQL part.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we have inserted. Here we have insert command. We have update command. We have delete command, and we have select command. So select is widely used in both the commands, right? And if I want to modify existing rows of data or columns of data, I have to use the update command. Or if I want to remove some rows of data from tables, I have to use the delete command. You know, the parallel is similar here. We have to create table, or we have to create alter a drop table. Here you have to insert, update, and delete. So both are simultaneously analogous. Both effectively do the same thing, but one operates on the schema. This language operates on schema, and this operates on the objects like table. And so on the other operates on the actual data. So schema and table, this operates on a work of the set of command with the data, actual data, right? And of course, especially when you are working with the data, the select is the one that we can used to retrieve the database, retrieve the data from the database. So what does it come down to? It to all SQL boils down to learning the syntax corresponding to 7 commands. Even among these 7 commands, DDL is something that is rarely used in the life cycle of databases. So it's rarely used in the life cycle of database. You only use once. It is only used once at the very beginning when I'm creating my database. And once you can create it, you can even afford to forget the DDL. So it is used only once to create the database. So to speak right, now when it comes to DML, the among the DML, most important command is select, especially for analysis, because when you're doing analysis, most of the time you're working with the data that was inserted by somebody else, which was modified by somebody else, right? And so long as you are not the one who is developing the database applications, if you ask me, you can even afford to forget, insert, update, and delete statements. Of course, you have to answer the questions, uh, but you have to answer. Of course, you have to answer the questions in the interview. So don't tell me that I ask you to forget and you have forgotten it. But this commands also we rarely use. The most important command is select over here. So you have to remember this command, but in more practical sense, among all these 7 commands, your best friend for life is going to be the select command. So make sure you practice and you pay a lot of attention to the exercises that are being given on the select command, of course. I'll show you about other commands as well. A good familiarity is sufficient for those rest of the commands, and as they are really simple enough as well, right? So select can get a bit dodgy sometimes, so you'll require some practice, but that is the most important of all the that you will have to work with, right? So we'll get into working with SQL now. So we have DDL now. So I'll rename this as DDL statements. So now it's time to put to practice what we have been hearing, what we have been reading. And so I'm going to take you through a whole session of working with SQL. As I mentioned previously, SQL has got two major parts of the data, two major parts, data definition language and the data manipulation language. First, we'll start with the data definition language because without the structure for storing the data, you cannot manipulate it. So I'll run you through the set of data definition language commands. If you recall the main definition language commands, we have create, alter, and drop. So I'll be using a combination of those commands to create a simple database, right? Which on which we'll be practicing the sample database, which will be very similar to typical star schema, so that we can try out some analytical queries on that particular schema. So if you recall, what is the structure of a star schema? There is a central fact table linked to one or more dimensions, right? So that is a structure that we are going to be using. So before you work with the database, obviously you have to choose your DBMS. In our case, we are going to be working with the DBMS called MySQL. MySQL is open source database management system. So every database management system comes with a lot of tools, client tools, which we which you can work with the you can work with to uh, issue SQL commands, right? Both DDL and DML in our case. So we are going to be using a tool called MySQL Workbench, which is a graphical GUI tool, which will let you navigate to the schema in a visual manner with point and click within MySQL Workbench. There is a window wherein you can run SQL commands as well. So right now in front of I'll open my skill workbench. So all you have to do is you have to open this local instance MySQL, this one, create to your database, right? And I'll just quickly open the yeah. So you guys write down create database. I already have star schema. I already have created that. So first of all, I'll drop database market star schema one. Hmm. Suppose I'm running this query. Hmm. Now you guys write down this, everyone. Create database. And what is the name of the database that we have is market star schema one. So write this down. This is what we use to create a database. So write down this and you have to press the second flash button, which is nothing but execute the statement under the keyboard cursor. And if you use this, it will execute the selected portion of the script or everything if there is no selection. So basically, if you want to run only single query, which you have selected, which you have highlighted, you have to press the second button. Write down this and let me know if it is done or not.
Vipul, I'm not able to open my SQL. I had downloaded it. It's not opening. But
Okay, share your screen.
sharing. Just a second. I'm clicking on it. It's not. It's not opening. It's somewhere here. Okay. This is how it opens up.
But I'm not sure on Mac how to do it on Mac.
Okay.
Anyway, you go to Chrome. As of now, write down online compiler, online SQL compiler. Hmm. Yeah, open anyone
Okay.
and just write down whatever I have written. Create database. So remove this everything.
Give our life.
Hmm. Write down create database. Market underscore star underscore schema.
Okay. Run.
No, semicolon should be there at the end of the statement.
Okay.
To end the line, use the semicolon.
Okay.
Run
Yes.
this. Near database. Select that and then try to run this.
Same.
Okay.
Oh, What should I do now?
Actually, now what they're saying is they we have to use the tables which are already available in
Okay.
this. So available tables is customers, orders, and shippings.
Okay.
What you can do is you just search on YouTube how do you install SQL on Mac.
Okay.
Try to follow that channel.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So this is how you create a database. So you write down create database, market star schema, and the database is created. Right? As simple as that. Now, in order to work on this database, you have to use this. So unless and until you don't write down create database, and unless and until you don't write down use database name, you'll not be able to work in a you'll not be able to create a table. So you have to first of all create the what database, right? Now I want to use commenting. So comment, either you can use this double uh, hyphen to give comment, or there is one more thing which is known as this, to use the multiple lines of comment. So here I want to use only single lines of comment, or I can use this also. That's not a problem to give the comment. So DDL statements. Now we'll try to create the DDL statement. And how do you end this? It is like this. So in between this, whatever you write, it is considered as command, comment, just like in Python, right? So let me write down uh, first question. The first question is you have to create a table shipping underscore mode underscore dimension having columns with their respective data types as the following. So I'll give you one task. You can try this out. You can take your time. So first column is sheep mode, that has to be varchar 25. Second column should be vehicle company, and that should be also varchar 25. Third column should be toll required, and data type of this column is boolean. So you have to create this, right? How do you create this? I'll tell you after 5 minutes. So you can explore this. As of now, I know I have not told you how do you create this, but you can search on web how do you create a table. All right, I'll give you 5 minutes. You can explore this. Meanwhile, I'll just have a break of 5 minutes. Yes. How do you do this? Done. Yeah. So you have to create a table. So you'll write down create table. What is table name? Shipping underscore mode underscore dimension, right? So shipping underscore mode underscore dimension. Then ship underscore ship underscore mode is the column name. Ship underscore mode. And in that the column type is varchar 25, comma vehicle underscore company varchar 25, comma tool underscore required. That should be boolean. That's all. And you have to end this with the
Semicolon.
semicolon. So if I write this, I would be able to create the table. If I execute this, the table is created, right? So whereas within when you are sitting within MySQL workbench, sometimes no simply highlighting it and executing it will work. But get into habit of putting a semicolon at the end of all the commands. So you can see that create database market star schema is actually create the database. Now creating the database alone is not sufficient. So in MySQL workbench, you can issue commands to database. To give a database, you have to say that this is the database on which all my commands should work on, that is accomplished using this keyword called use, right? So the sequence is you say create database, then give some database name, and then say use that particular database. Since we created market star schema, in the next command that we are going to issue is use the market star schema that we already have done. And this is how we create the database. And the database name, that command is typically issued only once in a lifetime of the entire database. If it is not, as if you will be doing it during every session that you log in, so you would have typically design your database using ER diagrams, excuse me, or whatever. And then once you have finalized your list of tables and constants and everything, then you'll get into excuse me, then you'll get into this particular mode and then create database exactly once, right? Then what you have to do is in every session when you get to get in this issue, the second command, use market star schema, is command that you will always have to do before issuing any SQL command in every session, right? And that is quite understandable, isn't it? Otherwise, how would MySQL know on which database it should execute these commands? So we have done use market star schema. Now we have created our first set of dimension table over here. The name is shipping mode dimension. And so this is simple retail analysis database wherein I have lots of fact variables that I have showed you. If you recall it, in the star schema, we had a central star schema with lots of fact variables called sales discount and five other fact variable. In addition to that, some four dimension table as well. So in our database schema, now we'll have five tables. What I'm going to do is I'll go through a set of DDL commands on some sample tables that they may not be very exactly looking identical to the fact tables and the dimension tables that I've talked about in the previous session. So first of all, how do you create a table? So here I want to create a table called shipping table, shipping mode that we have created. Now, what is this thing varchar? It's nothing but it is known as character, and that is simply restricted to 25. So instead of varchar, if you write down character, and if you don't give, let's say if I write if I write character car, and if I write 25, then varchar 25. So what is this is known as character, right? So character, suppose I'm writing down the ship mode as, let's say let's say this air delivery. So in this, how many characters do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 characters, right? So if you use character, even though maximum permissible space for character is 25, but as you are giving only 10, remaining 15 will be wasted. Remaining 15 space characters are wasted. So one thing you remember is, now what is the significance of that 25? What will happen if I try to store some data with say 30 characters? So unlike some other programming language where you exceed the allocated length, you may get an error, you may get an exception. In my database, in general, in MySQL, when you try to store the data which is longer than this 25 or that particular attribute, suppose you're trying to store 30 characters into varchar attribute of shipping mode, here it will discard the last 5 characters, right? Discard the last 5 characters. It will not throw the error. And very interesting, another very interesting good for you is that data type is called varchar, because there is also data type called as character. In database, you can have two string attributes which are called as character and varchar. So one is what is known as fixed length string, and the other is called variable length string, right? The name itself, we can guess varchar stands for variable character. So which means, what it means is, although we have declared 25, the 25 only indicates maximum length it can take. But if you're actually storing like a shipping mode is air, and so if you are occupying only 3 characters, or let's say 10 characters, then it does not occupy remaining 22 characters, or remaining 15 characters are not utilized for that particular data. So variable varchar strings are useful when the data that you are trying to store is of variable length. On the other hand, if you are using character, which is always fixed number characters, suppose you say PAN card, you say Aadhaar card number, right? So all these numbers are fixed length. So you might you want to use a fixed length data type called as char over here, when you're trying to store the data which you know for sure it has got exactly that many number of characters of all the time, right? Now using the character type data is generally more inefficient in terms of processing it, but might waste some space if you're trying to store data which is shorter than allocated space, right? Because it will pad it with extra blanks. So you can choose between character and varchar. So in this example where we have chosen to use varchar, so similarly we have created another thing which is known as vehicle company, and here is another attribute called as toll required. So we are using a data type called boolean. And as Boolean data type is a variable which can take only two values called true or false. So what you do is, I will not be going through exhaustively all the data types that MySQL supports, but so this is essentially an habit that you have to create, saying that if you are beginning to work on a new database management system, you have to go through that particular products manual, and there will be invariably be a section which is called data types. So you have to go through all the nearly 20 to 30 data types, might be supported in many different variation, and there will be different data types, different situation, different variation for storing strings. There are many variation for data types for storing numbers, many variation for data types to store dates, similarly time, and so on, right? So there will be so many variations that are supported. So it's good to be familiar with the supported data types and choose the one that is most suitable for your application, right? So that is essentially is the create table command for you. So what I suggest is you go through the documentation, SQL Workbench manual, and you go to data types over there. Excuse me. So you'll find that there are n number of data types which we have in MySQL Workbench, right? So now what I'll suggest you to randomly create table in your own database for some other examples table of your own choice. So we'll do a formal exercise later, but now you may want to take a small pause and try out to create the table, right? Now this is what we have for the to create in order to create a table. What is happening over here is it's already there. Okay. Now the second question, you have to make ship underscore mode as the primary key in the about table. Primary key in the about table. So how do you do this? So earlier we have created dimension table called shipping mode dimension. There are many alterations I can do to an existing table. The alteration can involve adding an attribute, removing an attribute, changing the data type of an attribute, or even adding or and removing the construct. So you must be remembering we have talk about different types of constraints. We have talked about entity constraints. We have talked about referential constraints. We have talked about entity semantic constraint. I'll show you how to add an entity constraint. You remember one of the special entity constraints was a primary key constraint, right? So if I want to add a primary key constraint to an existing table using an alter command, how can I do is you have to use this command called alter table shipping underscore more underscore dimension, then ship underscore mode varchar 25 comma vehicle underscore company. Sorry. What I'm doing is same thing. Alter table shipping underscore mode underscore dimension. No? dimension. And I want to add constraint, so I'll write an add constraint, which is primary key. And what you have to do is ship mode ko primary key karna hai. Ship underscore mode, right? If you write down this, if you run this, it will convert it into a primary key. So write this down now. So hopefully you remember what are the implications of declaring something as a primary key. What it means is that the shipping mode values in this particular table must all be unique and they must never repeat within the table. And the second thing is that it should never be null or empty. So that is the alter table for you. So now you might have created your own table for practice after the previous segment. So now you can try adding a primary key to that particular table based on your own attribute set of attributes. Right. So write this down. Then we'll go to the DML commands. Now next is DML. DML statements. So what are the DML statements that you have? First is insert two rows in the table created above having the row wise values. So you insert delivery truck, suppose. You want to insert delivery truck, Ashok Leyland, and false. False मतलब toll required के लिए false I want to insert. Second is regular air, Air India, and false. So delivery truck Ashok Leyland, false. And next is regular air, Air India, false. Now what we'll do is we'll insert into table. So I'll write down insert into which table? Shipping. Acha, we need to end this comment, no? Hmm. Insert into shipping underscore mode underscore dimension. इसमें values I want to add. I'll write down values. And one by one I'll write down delivery truck comma, Ashok Leyland. That has to be in quotes as well. Ashok Leyland. And false. So this is first, comma. Second is regular air, regular air, comma, Air India, comma, false. So either it can be capital or it can be small, right? So if you write this down, you'll be able to create the, you'll be able to insert the values in that table, right? Is that fine now, everyone? And if I just put semicolon, if I execute this, it will be added over there. And then if I need to check what is there in my table, so select star from keeping underscore mode underscore dimension, which will give me the everything in this table, everything is which is there in this table. So that is your this thing, right? All right, now you can ask your questions if you have any. Otherwise, we'll just stop here for the day. Yes. Do you guys have any questions? Any doubts?
Can you share for a second, Vipul? I just want to note it down.
Hmm?
Can you share the screen for a second? I just want to note it down. I was on the last line. Thank you. The last at the end, the delivery.
Which one? This one?
No, no, the delivery one. Totally like it was there.
Yeah, this only I have written. No.
Okay. Insert into shipping mode dimension. Delivery truck. Select from shipping mode dimension. Uh, can you go below?
Below we have not done anything.
Okay, that's it.
Yes, that is different part. Chalo. Done.
Just
All
yeah.
right. All right then. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Hello.